greeting you again with this beautiful view of Lake Kivu behind me. In today's episode, we were not going to be leaving Lake Kivu behind. However, our view of it might be a bit more different than what we see here in Kibuye. Today, my plan is to head out in about 30 minutes. So almost at 9:30 a.m. I'm going to be checking out. And then I called the same motorcycle taxi guy who dropped me off here yesterday to pick me up and take me back to the bus station. His name is Mutawadzin, which in Arabic means balanced, steady, firm. So I'm like, that's like the perfect name for somebody who's going to be taking you on a motorcycle ride through the roads here. And we're going to see, hopefully I can get a direct bus from Kibuye straight up the coast of the lake to the town of Gisenyi. Gisenyi is a bit of a larger town than what we have here. It's more of an organic town. It's a town which is part of one big metropolitan area which is divided by the international border between Rwanda and the DRC. While you might not have heard of Gisenyi, Rwanda, you might have heard of Goma, Democratic Republic of the Congo. They sit right alongside the border. So I'll tell you more about that when we get there. Hopefully we can take a look at the border. I don't know what the filming situation will be like, but I'll try to grab some footage however I can, because I think it should be very, very important. It's a very important border historically and a very important border today as well. But with that, hopefully I will see you there in Gisenyi. Hello everyone and welcome to Gisenyi, Rwanda. Now this city, as I've told you before, lies just across the border from the DRC. When you drive in, you can see the big mountain which erupted not too long ago and was a terrible natural disaster, but it actually sits well into DRC, but you can see it bright and clearly when you're driving in from Kibuye. I already know that I love the energy of the city. It's a bit of a bigger city, at least by Rwandan standards. It's a border town, so it's a little bit more gritty and aggressive and cosmopolitan. There are people from probably all over Congo, all over Rwanda, and all over general East and Central Africa here in Gisenyi. I just took a motorcycle taxi from the bus station to my guest house here for the night. And I've just boiled down my GoPro to its bare minimum. There's no selfie stick, there's no microphone attached, so just bear with the suboptimal audio quality. I figured it would be better to head into Gisenyi and be able to capture some footage at all with my GoPro, rather than have the microphone, have all the accessories, and then risk being caught and being asked to delete everything again. That's not worth it. So at least with this, I think it's a little less conspicuous and I can actually capture footage better for you all. But for the moment, I'm hungry. It's time for lunch. I'm gonna head out. I saw a bunch of restaurants and cafes and coffee shops and the like outside. So I'm really, really interested to go check that out and see what Gisenyi is like. I'm just leaving my hotel right now, walking down the street. I should just be a couple blocks away from the DRC border actually. And there are two main borders located here dividing Goma from Gisenyi. The main and largest crossing is actually called La Petite Barrière, or the small border, but it lies on the main road from the highway that we just arrived on, not too far from the bus station where I just got dropped off. And then there's La Grande Barrière, and that lies right on the shores of Lake Kivu. However, that's actually the lesser used border. The crazy thing is that I'm like maybe a couple blocks away from the border, and it's this neighborhood which got bifurcated in between Rwanda and the DRC. It's literally one neighborhood, but it's DRC on the other side, and who knows what the conditions are like there. But it's a pretty upscale area. Like, I haven't seen an upscale area like this in Rwanda yet. If I kept going straight for one more block instead of making a right up the hill right now, I would have been right at the dividing line between the DRC and Rwanda. At least that's what Google Maps shows me. Right now, I'm just going to go get some lunch and then see what we can find. I'm going to see if I can find my way back up to the main road, sort of the road where we came in on. There's a lot more commercial activity going on there. I'm sure there'll be a lot more restaurants there. And that's exactly where the largest of the two border crossings actually intersects. So maybe we can see if the atmosphere changes from this really upscale residential area with people just jogging and hanging out, restaurants, to the more gritty border town atmosphere I come to expect. I mean, not just between like Rwanda and some like cute country. This is Rwanda and the DRC. I was walking around, got to the street, and it's still pretty deserted. Maybe it's just because it's a Friday afternoon. Everyone's praying and then they shut down for the afternoon. But I popped into this spot, had no idea what they would be serving, but I walked in and looks like I got a huge plate of rice, a sort of meat curry soup, and then a leafy green curry as well. And the food is really, really good, very flavorful, and I love eating the actual food from the continent after having all the burgers and pastas and pizzas. This is exactly like the kind of food I wanted. And it's actually not food from Rwanda. This is the cuisine of Kinshasa, the capital of Congo, the capital of the DRC, which is all the way on the other side of the country, very, very far away. So like, the waitress here when I got here, she was like, "Oh, do you speak French?" Like, I have no idea what you're saying in English. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, speak French." But I think most people here do speak English after Kinyarwanda and Swahili. But I'll definitely should be able to meet a lot of Congolese and then get my French back. But the food is really, really good, and happy to try something that's local to the continent. So I'm actually pretty surprised at how chill and unbothered this side of the border is, especially because Rwandan territory has been hit by shelling going on the other side of the border before. I figured it would be a little bit more tense, but it's not. Just continuing my walk through Gisenyi, and then came across this cafe. I earlier wanted coffee, but that place didn't do espresso. They just had the instant coffee, so I was like, I'll just keep walking. Popped into the spot. It's got like literally everything: cocktails, food, all the Western kind of foods that you would want. And then the most important thing is that they have espresso coffee and a lot of different options at that. It's Saba Lounge here in Gisenyi, so definitely try it out. Like, if I hadn't eaten already, which I'm glad I did eat at the Congolese place, because that was good food, it was local food, and it was cheap compared to the Western food here. But if you do want a coffee, or if you want something fun to just snack on, you can definitely check out Saba Lounge here in Gisenyi, and at the same time you get a good view of what's going out on the street. But I would say I walked up pretty close to the Petite Barrière, at least until I saw like there was an actual barrier there. But I don't know if I'm pretty sure that's not where the actual border is, because there are a lot of people freely walking through that area. Though I have heard that it's possible to enter the DRC semi-legally, or at least have somebody like take you in pretty easily and then maybe bring you out. I don't really know. I've just heard it from a couple different people that it's very, very doable from here. I mean, really, the DRC is such a failed state. Like, where are they trying to keep out at this point? But my thing is, no one has offered that to me, so I'm kind of offended. Maybe I don't look cool enough for somebody who would be into that, but yeah, I mean, had somebody offered me, I might have taken it up on it. As long as they could assure me 110% that they could bring me back into Rwanda. What I found in Rwandan cities is that it's really hard to identify just one center of town, but I think I'm finding one now, at least here in Gisenyi. I also think I'm pretty close to the bus station right now, the station that I arrived at a couple hours ago. So I might as well just go see if I can find out exactly what routes travel from Gisenyi northward, whether I need to go to Ruhengeri or I can go straight into Uganda sooner rather than later. Never mind, I guess we'll just keep the element of spontaneity and surprise alive. And we'll just head to the bus station tomorrow morning and then figure out exactly where we're going. So I guess I will not be booking a place to stay for tomorrow tonight. I'll just book it the day of tomorrow depending on whether I'm going to Uganda or whether I'm going to Ruhengeri tomorrow, because I'm still not exactly sure where I'm going. Because if I go to Ruhengeri, I want to make sure I don't have to backtrack and come back here if this is in fact the hub for taking buses onward to Uganda. If that's in fact the case, I'd rather just take the bus straight to Uganda from here and skip Ruhengeri altogether. I guess it's pretty typical. I come to a place and I end up with more questions than I have answers. And that's pretty common. I think the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And that completely applies to travel as well. I really wonder whether all the wealth that's concentrated right here, right on the other side of the border with the DRC, is actually native Rwandan wealth. And this is just a normal city in Rwanda. Or if this is actually wealth brought here to the side of the border by Congolese who find it a better atmosphere for investment and for residing, just given the infrastructure, given the peace, given the stability right here where you can invest here in Gisenyi and then move easily and find yourself back home in like 5 minutes in Goma. There are just so many nice cars here, so many gated villas here, beautiful residences and the like, and this is not a capital, so it's not diplomatic money. Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, January 7th. I'm speaking to you from my guest house. I have my mic on and everything. Hopefully hear me better. Thank you for putting up with whatever footage and audio you got yesterday. I just don't want to deal with everyone staring and getting suspicious and then reporting me to the police again. So normally I like to start my days with giving you an agenda for the day, but today I cannot do that because I have absolutely no agenda. When I tell you that I usually have no idea what I'm doing the next day, it's very, very true. But today is especially true because I have no idea what I'm doing today, where I'm going to be going today, whether I'll still be in Rwanda today or whether I'll be crossing the border into Uganda, but we shall see. My host here is telling me that there is a direct bus from here to Kampala, which leaves in the evening and travels overnight, and you get into Kampala around 8 in the morning. I don't know if that's ideal for me right now. I might have enough time to afford making a stop and cutting down that 12-hour bus ride. Either here in Ruhengeri, which is another town of another 2.5-hour bus ride at the base of Volcanoes National Park, and then from there I can go to Mbarara in Uganda or go straight to Kampala from there, hopefully. The owner of this guest house also told me that there's usually a restaurant here, but due to the recent escalation in violence ever since November 2022 on the other side of the border, which is only like a block away in Goma, that there have been fewer people coming here, and so he's had to shut down the restaurant. I'd also like to just take a moment to touch on that conflict, even though I will not be going to the DRC. I hope you take an opportunity to learn more about the M23 militia, which is the Tutsi militia operating in the DRC, and the US and the EU have alleged that the Rwandan government is continuing to provide support to the militia, which is fighting the security forces in the DRC, and as a result of the humanitarian atrocities which took place during those 100 days in 1994. So many migrants found refuge across the border in the DRC. So many remnants of the Hutu militias which carried out the genocide here in Rwanda then fled amid the huge influx of civilians into the DRC. Rwanda says that it has no other choice but to intervene in the violence going on in the DRC in order to protect its own interests, its own border, its own delicate balance, which it has achieved with its highly centralized single-party state here inside Rwanda. However, today in the DRC, many of the same actors still remain with their same philosophies. A very Tutsi extremist M23 militia, a very pro-Hutu extremist militia that they're fighting. And in the DRC, there is no centralized government. In fact, we have the opposite failing state, which with no control at all here on the eastern side of the country in North Kivu province. So in 2012, the M23 militia were actually able to take control of the town of Goma until it was liberated by security forces, and they've come close to doing that even now in 2022. Rwanda's inability to step aside from intervening in this conflict is forming another stain on its reputation, and many of the people here are aware of it. They're aware of the US and the EU and the UN all accusing Rwanda of some amount of guilt in exacerbating the conflict in the eastern Congo. However, for Rwanda, they say it's all about them protecting their own interests, about them maintaining their balance of peace and stability inside their own country, because they know just how quickly that balance can be destroyed. And as I mentioned when I spoke about freedoms in Rwanda previously, it's not a rosy picture here. The country has been ruled by one singular party since 1994, and maybe it's due to that fact that it's been able to progress in terms of its infrastructure, economic development, social development, and the like, because there's no opposition. If you, as the president, wants to get something done, you've got your whole party behind you, and that's the entire government, because there only is one party. There only is the RPF, and that's been the one party. That's been all that Rwandans know ever since the genocide. It's been an illegitimate extremist Hutu government previously, then you had 100 days of genocide, now you've had RPF. And so it becomes very, very easy for the singular party to dangle the idea of safety, security in front of the people and tell them that without us, you're not getting any of that. You're going to return back to the pre-1994 situation. And that's exactly what is happening. For example, during the last presidential election in 2017, Paul Kagame won the election with around 99% of the vote. And whenever that happens, where it's here in Rwanda or in Syria, it's very, very fishy. There's always another story to be told. But in all seriousness, I wanted to make sure that I mention it because I'm literally right here. And it's something that you cannot ignore. It's in the news. It's been so much in the news these past 2 months, especially. If you do not know about the Kivu conflict, if you do not know about Goma, if you do not know about M23, I highly, highly recommend that you take a moment to do a quick Google search, read an authoritative news source article on what's going on currently, read about the background of the conflict, even if it is just Wikipedia, and you might learn something new.